That's where I met this guy. You want to introduce yourself, Jaime?
Sure. So, I was also abused. I was actually abused at rr.com, and my job function was actually to dish out the abuse, or at least that's what I thought it was. So in addition to helping this guy discover the issues with the filtering and things that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the tools that we developed to help you guys understand what's going on.
So let me just share with you a little bit about the mindset of someone who works at an ISP on the front line, someone who's in the engineering team, or someone who's working abuse. You really feel like you're involved in information warfare, that there's a constant arms race of you're trying to stop bad things from happening and bad things are occurring. And you're trying to help subscribers enjoy the internet experience, and they're getting compromised. Well, we have these other groups of individuals that are going after the users, trying to impact their user experience. And once you're in that mindset and you have blinders on, you start changing your idea of what the internet is, and you start losing sight of how the internet got to be where it is, and you start actually believing and even suggesting the fact like, oh, I think we need to do SMTP filtering. I think we need to start filtering these ports. These are bad ports, they're only meant for bad purposes. So we're the ones that need to do this for the good of the internet, because no one else knows anything. When you work at an ISP, you assume everyone else are a bunch of idiots, they know nothing, let the adults handle this, we're going to run the network, and we're going to decide for you what your best internet experience is. And that's kind of the mindset that you develop while you're working at these companies. And it's not that you look at the IETF, who's supposed to be directing these policies and how the internet is built, and you just kind of sit back and you think, these silly guys, they're just academics. They know nothing. You know, let the adults handle this network stuff. Trust me, we'll get a good product out to you. And you really believe that you're more in control of where the internet should go, and you do take on the persona of, I'm doing this for the good of others. So I'm going to give a little bit history of spam, and it's important because I'm going to lead up to where we've been, different network management practices that we've become accustomed to, talk about our current mess that we're in, and then maybe propose some ideas or some thoughts on how we can either get out of this, or maybe it's not a problem at all. We'll let everyone decide on their own. So the way that this abuse game first started was open mail relays. People didn't have their mail relays secured. That started getting fixed. There was pressure put on companies to lock down their mail relays. Then it escalated to throw away dial-up accounts. You sign up a dial-up account, you spam, you spam, you spam. ISPs locked down their dial-up accounts, and what spammers did, they involved. A technical measure was imposed on them. They couldn't use these mail relays. And what they figured out is they can pit other ISPs against each other. So if you have Earthlink, chances are they rented their POPs at that time from UUNet, from Sprint, from PSI. Same with Mindspring, same with AOL. And spammers figured out, they adapted to the technological blocks that were in place, that if I go get a Mindspring account, which gives me a UUNet POP, that UUNet POP will be allowed to send mail through an Earthlink mail relay. And that will make my account last 2 days instead of 1 day. So the arms race continues, and any checks that we put in place, people would figure out a way to get around it or to do something else. This became a problem. And there's different players involved in suggesting how to fix the internet. There's small players like Nanog, news.admin.net.abuse.email, and we had some other people like Vixies, RBL, Real-Time Black Hole List, and Orbs. They're the most vocal as far as being on the internet, shouting at ISPs, saying, we know the correct solution, you guys just have no idea what you're doing, we're going to fix this problem for you. They think that they have a lot to say, but the real players are the large Tier 1 ISPs, and they get together, and a lot of that happened here in Northern Virginia, in Fairfax. Every abused person knows another abused person at another ISP by first name. They have them on speed dial. They say, what are you doing about this problem? They do work together, and they do try to figure out ways to deal with this. So one of the major companies behind this that said, you know, we can solve this problem. We can have port 25 filtering, and we can force people on dial-up networks to only go to mail relays that that were set up for them to be used. And ISPs got together, and up until this point, there were no filtering. They didn't have tools to do this. And we all decided that's a great idea. We're going to make everyone go to our mail servers only. And at this point, the only people that were really complaining about that were more of the privacy advocates. They didn't necessarily feel like they should have their mail communications forced through another gateway. If they wanted to use another mail server because they were concerned about privacy, they were allowed to do that. So those were the only small complaints at that time. So we all gave each other high fives. One for the good guys. We got port 25 filtering. What else can we filter? So up until this point, filtering was a technical problem. The notion of putting ACLs on routers and different gateways, that scared ISPs. At that point, line speed filtering that didn't impact the CPU of the routers wasn't something that was there. No one had worked together, engineering teams, multiple ISPs, to get this done. But when that happened, when that first port 25 filter went in place, now the process is solidified. Now we do have a process. We have filter lists that we can use, and we promise we're not going to do anything bad with this. We're only doing this to curb spam, and a lot of people rallied around that and said thank you for helping us out with the spam problem. But what came out of that was a new tool at the ISP's disposal. They now have a method to do port filtering on an entire subscriber base. So, with that, well, what's next? Well, there's obviously more things that are bad on the internet than just mail and abuse. And I can remember when Code Red hit in 2001. It was an IIS problem at the time. But what we knew from working the abuse desks is the major seeders, the ones that were compromising all the IIS servers, was a lot of Solaris operating systems. Those were getting compromised over sysadmin or some other RPC service. First they would hit TCP port 111, and then these Solaris machines would be infected, and then they would start the whole IIS Code Red worm. And this got national attention. This was one of those worms that, you know, my dad was talking about or calling me about because he saw it on the news. And when you have this hysteria about, you know, the internet's collapsing, the sky is falling, it's easy to slip in one of these. So what was the solution there? Well, we'll block SunRPC. We'll get that out for the good of the internet. We're going to block SunRPC. Not to mention what that might impact, but everyone, like on these Nanog lists and other lists that were pressuring ISPs saying, you guys know nothing, you need to protect the internet. And they were almost demanding it. The users and security experts were demanding that the ISPs don't step in and solve this problem that they've created. So port 111 came. But it didn't stop there. NetBIOS, a few other things started being filtered. In the beginning, in early Windows operating systems, you couldn't do a whole lot with NetBIOS abuse. But as that operating system matured, NT40, 2000, you could start getting more access into these systems. And NetBIOS was used to compromise systems and turn them into bots and other spam nets. Not to mention, a lot of ISPs had the problem, especially cable modems, which are bridged Ethernet devices, of clicking on network neighborhood and seeing your entire network. So that was something that was instituted, filtering that. SQL Slammer came about. We got this new tool for the good of the internet. We're going to block TCP 1433 and UDP 1434. So this is the trend that we have. We have a steroid, we have a worm, we demand help, and more filters come out of it.
Right, so in addition to that, at this time is when abuse desks were really tasked. I mean, all these worms were spreading. There was an influx of port scanning. So what these providers were thinking was, you know, our call desks, our abuse desks are getting hammered at this point. What can we do? Our subscribers are complaining. We need to be able to do something here. We're losing a lot of money. So this is the beginning of the solution, the port filtering. That was the initial solution to mitigate some of the problems with the influx of abuse.
That's a good point. It's not because we cared about protecting the internet. We were tired of subpoenas. We were tired of DMC takedowns. We were tired of having 100,000 emails in our box because some Joe Schmo has PC Anywhere installed, or he has a printer that goes out to his entire neighborhood on SNMP looking for other printers. And when that happens, UDP packets to your entire subnet. All of your other neighbors that are running Black Ice Defender or Zone Alarm say, oh no, I'm getting a probe on UDP 161, or oh no.